Welcome all to my VFX Summit 2021. I am Ranjit Gosavi. I'm a VFX compositing and animation head in Pixel Images, and I'm here. I am the moderator here for this event. Today's topic is how tech is meeting the increased demand of VFX in VFX and animation industry. Yeah. So we have we here with us four industry experts who will enlighten us about the world of technology and visual effects. So we have Jeremy Smith with us, Sheji Thomas with us, and Karan Parekh, and we have Samit Shetty with us. So I will quickly introduce them, and then we can move ahead with the session. Yeah. So so Jeremy Smith, he's a Chief Technology Officer (CTO) at Jellyfish Pictures. He has studied IT and VFX in Canada and later joined Jellyfish Pictures in England. He has achieved Masters of Science and earned over a decade of experience in virtual, and cloud technologies. He is focusing on high performance computing (HPC) demands for media and entertainment industry, yeah, and broadcast industry as well. As an expert, he has reimagined the production pipeline to launch and develop Jellyfish Pictures as a leading company. He has built strong relationships with uh, between Jellyfish and the leading companies such as Microsoft Azure, Teradiki, Pixit Media, uh, AMD, and many others. So here is Jeremy Smith with us. Then we have Sheji Thomas. He's a regional head of technology Asia Pacific at Technicolor. He's an electronics engineer and earned a master's in business administration as well. His career spans over 2 decades, and he has worked with leading organizations, including CMS, Star News, Crest Animation Studios, Tata CRL, and TCS. His valuable contributions across organizations have led many awards such as uh, DataQuest Leadership Award, CIO Innovation Heroes 2020 and 2021, Defender CISO 2020, Top 100 CIOS to 2018 award, and so on. So Sheji has played a key role in transforming the growth of brands like MPC, The Mill, Mr. X, and Micros in India. He he has managed global technical operations in India for high performance computing, cloud, and data uh, developments. Okay, and most importantly, he has enabled 5,000 plus users to work from home, to work remotely, to continue business as it is and as efficiently as possible today. Yeah. Then we have Mr. Parekh with us, CEO and co-founder of Green Drain Studios. He is an immersive technologist with an expertise in real-time workflows, the Unreal Engine and all of that. So virtual production workflows. He is also a master mentor for Unreal Engine virtual production fellowship program, and is India's first Unreal authorized instructor. He is providing training through Green Drain for real-time workflows and uh, virtual production workflows for almost 40 plus studios now. So his areas of expertise include virtual production, XR, and simulations. His collaborative works has been displayed at the most prestigious places such as Times Square, in NYC, uh, Arctic Art Tech House in DC, and the Strong Museum of Play in uh, Rochester and New York. Yeah, and then we have the fourth panelist here, Mr. Samit Shetty. Samit is a technical solutions manager in media and entertainment with Autodesk India and SAARC. Uh, he has over a decade of industry experience in film, TV, and animation and visual effects. He's a specialist and go-to person for animation and visual effects creatives. He has managed and collaborated on entertainment projects of all sizes. He's working for some of the major post-production houses in Asia Pacific, US, and Canada. Yeah. So that's it. So Samit also spent few years in education segment for a, uh, training a generation of artists today. Most of those hold senior positions at leading studios. In the current role as a technical solutions manager at Autodesk, he works closely with VFX supervisors and creative heads of top studios in the country and helps them set up and optimize their technical workflows. So that's it. I welcome all of you. And yeah, I'm very glad to be with you guys today on this discussion. And yeah, let's start the discussion. So, yeah, so let's quickly, I mean, if you guys can uh, add up to what you are doing right now and how things are going, how things are placed at your end. We would like to have your introduction from your side, and then we will continue. So, Jeremy, over to you.
Hope you guys can hear me. I just want to say it's great to be involved. So thank you for hosting this event, and thank you for having Jellyfish myself. So yes, as you've mentioned, I am the CTO of Jellyfish Pictures, and we've been doing a lot of cloud-based workflows over the past several years. And this has kind of really come into its own over the past 24 months or 18 months. And specifically with more of that, in the UK with dealing with Brexit. A lot of the people that we employ are European, and so Brexit also basically posed a challenge for us in addition to COVID. So yeah, we've actually been very, very fortunate in that we did have the proper basically kind of infrastructure in place. So when COVID did hit, we were able to react and almost migrate to everyone working remotely, and in fact working on some of the biggest projects that we've ever done as a company over the past 20 years. So so that is Jellyfish in a really brief nutshell. And for those who don't know a lot about Jellyfish, we do a lot of animation and visual effects work for a range of different clients.
Wow. Great. Glad to hear you, Jeremy, and thanks for that introduction. Really glad to know the things which are happening at Jellyfish. Yeah, Sheshji, if you can just enlighten us about your overall profile and the things that are happening nowadays.
Sure, thanks. Firstly, thank you for having me here, Ranjit
Sheshji.
and India Joy. It's a good platform for all of us to connect and engage
Hello.
to. I believe I'm being heard. Yeah.
Again, the voice is.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll continue.
Hello.
So I'm with Technicolor. I'm based out of Bangalore. I've been here for 8 years, and I'm part of Technicolor has different line of businesses. With the line of business I am in, I'm based out of his Technicolor Creative Studio. That's where we create all the content, the visual effects and animation and the games content around, be it for the OTT, be it for the feature distribution, or be it for the TVs. So all the brands. So I take care about the Technicolor infrastructure and technology for Asia Pacific, which includes all the brands. MPC Film, Mr. X, Micros, Technicolor Games, Miller Advertising, MPC Advertising. That's where we are. And in India, in Bangalore, we actually host all the brands. All the services do have it here. And I would rather say probably there's a single site studio where so many brands are there together in one one technology park, one tech park actually. We are hosted in one of the tech parks. So that's where we are. We've been like 12 years in India. That's how we operate. And it's been an interesting journey from the day that COVID came in, and every month is a new journey where you're probably doing something else to gear up. In the initial time, it was mostly a survival, as we all from industry, we know that the production and the creative was never set up for a remote working. And when the pandemic hit us, the first we had to do is get into the survival mode. So we were also in the same mode. We were also in the same mode where we started our journey by a survival mode. We made sure that in 45 days is when what we took to get 100% work from home enabled for everybody. And then it was an improvement, efficiency improvement, keep doing innovation and changes together. So that's my role around in technical.
Karan, you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go next, I guess. Yeah. Thanks, Ranjit, and thanks, India Joy, for having me here. Absolute pleasure. Um, I'm CEO here at Green Range Studios, and we are an Unreal training center, and we are also a real-time graphics studio doing a lot of production work in animation, virtual production, and things like that. Our team is based largely in India, and we've we've been able to navigate COVID in some very interesting ways, and allowing the whole team to work from home. So the production work is definitely happening from home. But one of the interesting challenges was running a training studio, because prior to COVID, hardware dependency was really important for training, and we had to figure out a way to create live virtual classrooms. And what we quickly realized is that we can even increase our output with live virtual classrooms, and it's been a really interesting time. I'd love to tell you more later on during this discussion about how we've been navigating that, especially on the education front. Um, yeah, so that's me, and that's what we're doing right now. So training and real time production.
Cool. I don't know whether Ranjit is audible. Anyway, just in the interest of time, I can just go next. Hi, I'm Samit Shetty. I'm the technical solutions specialist with Autodesk India and SAR. As Ranjit mentioned, I was a visual effects artist myself, started my career in way 2000 for almost a decade. And then since I was very keen in teaching and training and sharing knowledge, when Autodesk approached me, I thought this was the best chance and opportunity to interact with almost all people like you, who are our clients. Like, and I've been working very closely with Technicolor and Green Rail, and of course Jeremy, our Autodesk, the London team is working with. So it gives me immense happiness to interact with all these technology people, creative people, and provide our solutions and try to incorporate our solutions in a way which will actually help and see the result in the end screen. So that's a small introduction about me. And of course, yes, pandemic changed a lot. We all know, because I think before pandemic we had very less things to discuss, because we were moving in a very linear way, and change in technology was not as very slow. But I think after pandemic things changed, which would have taken all of us at least 5 or 7 years to change, which happened in just 2 months or so. And that's something which we love about, is talking about what all change happened in the last 1.5 years, sharing knowledges, helping others grow and adapt the same technology. So yeah.
What an interesting journey, right? I think one thing which I see is very similar to both of us. So I and Jeremy comes from an end user where we had to enable a lot of things for our artist and production in the flow. And Autodesk and Current's team had been doing a lot of things around during the pandemic. And you see, so the innovation and the speed, I think, was very common for everybody together. So we had to definitely deliver on the speed, and all this required a lot of products, a lot of solutions and innovation, which has to be get from either the OEMs or partners and all the thing. And I think this is the year in my 20 years of my experience. This is the year where I saw the fastest innovation, fastest implementation, and the fastest case study. We can generate so many case studies in this one year. That's amazing, right?
Correct, correct, absolutely. We've seen changes happening, changes and requests. Like, hey, every day was a new request on certain tools, technologies, deliverables, and so on. And the best part was, I think, how we all got together and tried to solve it. Like, we all understood this is a common problem and not just a one studio's problem. And personally, I've seen one studio helping the other gain knowledge and solve issues in terms of, as you did, 5,000 people, employees working from home is, and under just one infrastructure is a big thing. Yeah.
Even I didn't believe that we could do it. So, Jeremy, where was your studio enabled working from home before? Remote working was already enabled for you?
We had basically multiple satellite offices kind of dotted around London and dotted around the country. So when COVID hit, we actually, made almost every basically remote worker their own little private office, if that makes sense. And just to go back to what you're saying, to say how it's changing production, how it's changed basically how we approach infrastructure and cloud-based services, and even the products that we consume, and even education. There's been about 10 years of innovation and impact into about 12 months. And so, as we kind of see all the work that's kind of going forward, I really don't think that the world is ever going to go back to quite the way it was before. But I think if the pandemic were to have happened, like say, for example, 10 years ago, I don't think it would have been as easy as a transition compared to what it was now. But I really, really do think that the entire technology stack has massively basically come along, and in the pandemic has proved to any doubters that it actually can work, and it can work effectively. And so I do think it's a very, very exciting time in this region, and I think the long-term implications of what this means for certain productions in CG or live action is going to be quite exciting, and it's just basically taken a pandemic to really help change the mindset of several people. Like, I know Technicolor has massive amounts of basically of people working remotely, and that's thanks to you and your team. And I think it's going to be interesting to see on what happens to all those other companies.
Karan, maybe we can continue with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, Shaji, really curious to hear some of the challenges you faced in kind of transitioning 5,000 people to work from home. So 45 days is an incredibly short amount of time to migrate so many people. What were some of the challenges you faced during the process?
Right. So the first challenge obviously was when this was all done, the lockdown was already announced. So the whole story of how many of us can actually reach to the studio, get the infrastructure up and running. For example, the bandwidth was never sized for a capacity of work from home together. So that is one of the things which we did. What really helped us to achieve this, couple of things which we already had in place. So we already had our corporate users connecting remotely and they're working remotely. That was something which is already in place. For some of the users like the VFX supervisors and we had a private cloud, so all our sites are connected by our network. So we had a private cloud, and most of our platform and solution was built for a native app base, right? So we were enabled to make sure that our apps can actually translate and can do remotely. So that way we were good. From a security posture, we were initially good because we had a remote access for that. It was mostly to try out the options like a TerraDC was one of the largest we had implemented. So trying out that, I would say the biggest change was the change. There'll be like years how artists used to work, how they used to collaborate, how they used to review. The relationship between an artist is very close to his workstation, his storage, supervisors, leads all together, right? So we actually speak next door. How's my shot going? How's review? The colors, for example, was great. So the biggest challenge for us one is to enable the working from home. Otherwise the all the functionality which is required to enable all the productions going seamlessly was one of the things. Review was one of the things which was quite a challenging. Security was one of the biggest thing where we were concerned. So how we took up that is we actually re-architected our work from home architecture on a cloud way. And then we had to actually run it through our different clients to explain them this is how it is going and these are the different steps we are taking to manage the security requirement for our side. And it's very difficult for us. The film security requirements would be very different. The advertising would be very different. The games would be very different. That was one of the things. The most important thing was the human factor, as it all depends. So you can do anything for a data to be leaked, but you cannot do anything if somebody takes a picture and goes through that. So we had to run multiple security programs, make sure everybody is aware, make sure everybody is following, and make sure everybody is being made aware what kind of impact will happen if there is a smaller impact. So we ran multiple security programs. I think that was one of the great success around, I feel, definitely in India, where it was a worrying factor for everybody. And I didn't hear any leakage which happened throughout in 18 months from all the studios across, right? So that was a huge commitment from everybody, from creative to artist, production, everybody. They all made sure that security protocols are followed. They all made sure that whatever adjustment or arrangement you need to do to continue working from home is made. So it took a lot of effort from everybody, just not from a technology, but took a lot of effort from everybody to get each of the functions available. Working from home enabled, security posture enabled. How do you do your reviews? How do you move to a more collaborative approach? How do you translate? How do you make sure your quotas are achieved? So all that did help a lot. And the biggest challenge was actually somebody who was already there in the system. They knew the technical culture and they were in the studio, so it was just following it in a different way. But we had almost 2,000 artists joined us during the pandemic. So they are the one who have never seen the studio. They're the one, and there's a limited you can do on a virtual induction. The culture doesn't fit in there. So that actually took us a lot of time to run multiple program, get them onboarded to the culture, and do that. So I think that's some few of the things. I started forgetting about what challenges we started 18 months back. Now we are gearing more that how do we support a hybrid model at much more effective way. We're not talking about survival now. We're not talking can you work from home. That's a proven fact now. But we are working now is how can we increase the collaboration more? How can we do reviews much more effectively? Seeing the latencies now, the artists are actually connecting across from India, and we have actually a pool of artists from Adelaide and China connecting back to Bangalore and work, right? So this is a proven thing now, and the way we are moving next is how can we leverage this model to provide more flexibility and agility on a hybrid model when the artist comes back, right? So we are actually trying to diverse the relationship between a artist and their machines and storage. Just forget where your workstation is, forget where renders are, forget where your storage are, right? So today, as you are in modeler, you need a different set of configuration. Tomorrow, you start working on a real-time engine. You need a different, right? You don't need to change your seat. You don't need any technology guy to come and move your system from here and there, right? And all this could only happen because we could, if we can work everything on a work from home remotely, why can't we be the same flexible and agile when we are back to the studio? You talk about training, for example, Karan. So if 2 years back, if you ask anybody, can you train new joiners virtually? The answer would have been no. Now you don't really need to ask them, right? So that these are some of the success story. We are going to build it more stronger and bring in the same agility and flexibility, irrespective of which line of business they are. If they are working on a film or episodic or advertising or games, you sit on the same machine, you work on the similar set of tools. Still work in progress. We are to achieve there, but that's probably the vision we are getting towards.
Very commendable.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just maybe just add one thing to that. So thank you for that. That's really good. I just wanted to say, like, we've been taking a look at some of the new tools coming out that we use to, for people to work, like, say, products from the Foundry or Autodesk or whoever. And a lot of companies now are actually kind of like thinking of this hybrid model in mind. So, say, for example, like the new version of Hero can do basically sync playbacks, can do sync playback heads basically, among multiple hosts or multiple PCs. as I say, for example, I mean, if you can't gather everyone in a physical room to do a review, you can fire up and then basically have like a sync session, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think there's other stuff, coming up from RV as well, that would allow that under the shotgun or ShotGrid umbrella now. So I think a lot of the tool makers as well, as well as the network infrastructure, because you're right, we've proven that works now. But I think it's basically how to maintain like a high level of collaboration between people, regardless of physical location. And I think we're going to see like a lot more support for these types of processes and these types of reviews actually kind of going forward now, and that's going to be, I'm sure, basically it's going to be on many on people's roadmaps, kind of going forward. So. I think, I guess the way I would describe it is right now it's probably the worst that it'll ever be. And frankly, it's the whole basically hybrid solution or the remote solution or the satellite office, experience is only going to improve as time goes on. So I think that's been made very clear to all the different ISVs. And I'm sure over the next coming weeks or months or years kind of going forward, all of those sort of features are just going to be baked into some of the products that we use today as well.
Cannot agree more. I think, Sumit, for you, it is the same story for you, right? Autodesk, for example, earlier you had to get into multiple discussions saying, okay, we have hosted this on cloud. Yeah. And it used to probably take you a lot of discussions and meetings to make sure everybody is aware. Now the game has changed for you.
Completely, because I remember pre-pandemic when I used to sell our ShotGrid, which is a cloud product, and people used to take production management little lightly because they feel, hey, we have a couple of guys who will manage the production, track using Excel sheets or Google Drives and so on. And they didn't wanted a single frame to go out in the cloud because of the trust issue. And things just changed overnight. And I remember the first week itself when we were talking about how are you guys going to manage production, because it's not just multiple facilities. Every individual house is a facility now. So to manage that, manage the production would be a great task. And people started slowly gaining trust in the cloud product, and they experimented. They did some evals. Previously, I think the evals for ShotGrid used to take couple of months, but then within a week or two they understood how this worked, and it was the need of the hour, and it became a very popular tool, because then initially they gave it to a smaller team, then they realized that there is a huge amount of scope distributing ShotGrid to everyone, and then they started slowly growing inside the studio itself. So this cloud, the trust in the cloud tool was actually possible during pandemic, because especially in the media and entertainment, we never wanted a single frame to go out of the studio, and nobody could even believe that work from home could be a concept in the media and entertainment. It used to be in the IT industry only, but we've seen tremendous amount of differences, and we also started tweaking our tools in terms of delivering the performance, because the tools, the softwares are the same, but what if when you're working from home you have a lower bandwidth and a huge file? Of course, nobody's going to work on a smaller project because of pandemic, right? So Then we tweaked to make the performance faster. We added some tools to the viewport so that even the same kind of performance an artist would get when he or she is working from home and versus a person who is working in the studio environment. So this is something which we saw big time.
Great.
That's really neat. Yeah, I think like ShotGrid's been great for us while we've been navigating our projects in COVID. Really great for our client reviews and things like that. It's been great, and I think cloud technology has basically changed the landscape for us. On the production side, we're heavily leveraging source control based cloud technology. So Plastic, Perforce, all our Unreal projects are running on one of those two based on our client preferences. And that allows the whole team to, constantly stay in sync with each other's changes on the project that they're making. All of this, we can have different branches, and that's been a staple in the games industry for a long time now. But it's nice to also see, a lot of VFX studios transitioning to that workflow. as well, especially with plastic. I think it's the newer kid on the block. Perforce has been around, people know of it really well, but I think we've had a lot of success recently with plastic. And then specifically on the training front, what has been extremely interesting for us, and the Epic India team has been making great strides here. Like Samir, Arvind, they've basically been developing a virtual machine product. So essentially, and one of the constraints for Unreal is you need a very high powered GPU to run the engine and to really at least as a development studio, if you're doing anything in VFX or animation. Uh, you want to leverage ray tracing and a lot of technologies that need the GPU. And for training, again, to get somebody to download a project, all of that, you've got a session that's only a couple of hours long. So with virtual machines, everything is pre-installed. All the software is installed. The projects are installed. People can log in from their MacBook or something like that and tap into this cloud PC. And it's really expanded our reach. We're training studios right now in Korea, USA, Europe. It's really enabled us to not just our output, but the quality of the training, the number of different projects we can showcase. And I think a very successful case for this has been the Unreal Fellowship, where there are over 100 filmmakers each quarter that are delivering shorts created in Unreal. And the whole training happens on these virtual machines. As instructors were even able to tap into their machine, fix a problem for them, or see exactly what the issue is. So I think this is just the beginning of that. It is still the technology is a little cost prohibitive in some sense, because you're paying per hour for these cloud instances, and GPU instances do run a little more expensive. But with the way this is going, I could definitely see costs dropping. And I think also in terms of bandwidth, that's only going to get better. So I do see this as a trend, and more people being able to collaborate that way.
Yeah, just in one note on the bandwidth. Basically here, basically in the UK and all throughout Europe, basically the 5G networks are starting to get more rolled out now as well. And so I think we're going to, we're kind of, see an explosion of bandwidth on the endpoint. And in addition, some of the compression codecs and algorithms that are coming out are just getting more and more efficient. So I really do feel that basically we have like two curves that are just crossing each other right now. And basically, I really do think, the traditional technological barriers are actually now, falling down. And as long as basically it fits into the cost model that you were saying, I mean, there's no reason why it won't work for pretty much like any scenario kind of going forward. So basically, for the latest job that we did, we were putting a lot of different types of workloads through it. And the more that you can invest in things like, you could pay attention to things like connectivity and latency and all the rest of it. It's only going to benefit, but I do think the general trend from a performance perspective, it's only going up.
Right. Yeah, so I think the ecosystem around is working well for the current need. So we spoke about the current, right? Whatever we spoke now is still now, but the world of the industry is changing extremely, right? So current, as you mentioned, a lot of R&D is actually happening on the real time, and probably how the entire footprint of virtual production and use case of virtual production is completely changed. The real time is playing a big game there. And Jeremy, as we speak, the hybrid is quite a reality now, and that's been explored as a future thing there. Many studios are adopting cloud a lot more. Even if from a rendering point of view, Google, AWS, Azure, everybody has really adopted a lot of things, so it's working for you, right? So can you tell us a little about the Jellyfish future plans? So how do you think you are gearing up for the future demand, or are you seeing anything very crazy happening in few years, which we should?
What I think as the entire kind of the technology stack matures even further, I think it's also really important that the building blocks that we build in this industry is not bespoke to only the media, entertainment, broadcast industry. It's applicable to like architectural design, construction, all of that stuff. So I kind of think kind of going forward, obviously we are very, very much going to be a hybrid mindset, going into the future. And I think it's phenomenal to have access to such, to different pools of talent from all over the globe, to work on the jobs coming up. We are looking at more things from a real-time perspective as well, to see how that kind of fits into certain pre-visualization workloads. And just see, we're also looking to adopt, more open source products, so safe or solutions. The obvious one out there at the moment is USD, and to see how that can be kind of like go through the workflow and the pipelining. That can kind of be the backbone of a production, rather than basically individual specific DCC applications like Unreal, Houdini or Maya. So ideally, we want to kind of embrace, those open standards as kind of like the foundation of our workflow, really. And really, at that point, the individual application almost doesn't matter as much, and it's really, really good to see because there's industry momentum into these open-based standards, and so that's one thing that we're really, really excited about as well.
Is that same for Autodesk? The same for Autodesk also, Samit? Yeah. Is your offering actually changed? Or do you have a different offering post-pandemic? I'm saying, is the Autodesk offering changed?
All right, so I don't know how to portray, but then we've been thinking about the offerings much before pandemic. I mean, we never had a vision of this coming, but what we wanted is, okay, am I audible? Yeah. So we know that there is tons and tons of tools out in the industry, and people have to use, depending on the requirement, they use different tools. I mean, it's good to see as the end product, but eventually you're adding cost to the production as well. I mean, like, if you don't really have the ROI, it's no point in doing a business when things looks good at the end as an end result, but you've spent a lot on the tools. So to overcome this, we've already been working on in the past to have the best tools inside one. Like, for example, as Jeremy said, that they use Maya maybe for asset creation and all, and they must be going to another tool for effects like Houdini and so on. For rendering, it would be a different render engine. So we started working. We started working on this much before, where we acquired Arnold, which was an industry standard render. So that people don't have to invest additionally on a render engine, whereas it would be freely available within Max and Maya. So that would save a company's cost. At the same time, if you guys don't want to do serious VFX, I mean, for the beginning, we rewrote Bifrost tool, which was invented long back, but then we stopped it. We redesigned it, we redeveloped it, and that is now being used as an FX tool within Maya. So moving from one tool to another is gone. I'm reduced tremendously, which eventually saves a lot of time for the studio, and at the same time cost as well. We acquired ShortGrid because we knew that production management is a big challenge and will be of a great demand in the future. So now that is also with us. I don't know whether you guys have read the news recently. Maybe just yesterday we acquired another cloud-based tool called as Tangent, which develops cloud-based pipeline tool. So we're gonna make ShortGrid much more powerful, so that you guys still don't find this to be something missing in any of these tools. So overall, we have been working on this from quite a long time based on the needs, but now we know exactly what is needed for various scenarios. Like USD is part of Max and Maya now, so that has been developed highly, and it is compatible with Bifrost and Arnold, and we're making sure that performances increase, so that even in the hybrid scenario, people are working from home, they don't really need supercomputers. They would be able to perform through VPN or whatever way it is and deliver the best out of the current scenario. So yeah, we've been working on a larger scale to make sure that the audience, the artists and the studios get the best at a best ROI.
Right. I
Do you
think the
think?
technology is changing every single day, and with the rapid growth that we have seen over the past 2 years, right since the pandemic started, the way we are changing every single day is a learning thing, and every single day we are just improving on the various ideas from every side. One is the technology side, one is the software development, and every different area that we are trying to pitch in. And now in Pickstone right now, we are working almost 80 to 100 locations. Artists are spread across all India, and everyone is able to connect together. We are doing dailies on like uh, on a daily basis. We used to do dailies on internet itself, and things are really going well. Everyone, I mean, maybe team of 30 can connect together and do the dailies together, and immediately the reviews are done. It maybe it is like better than the environment that is there in the actual production workflow, because people are able to connect, look at the same screen all together, and definitely uh, enhance the idea of production. Now, when we were at normal production workflow, when I was in Mumbai, I was traveling 2 hours back and forth from office to. So we are cutting down the timing on say what to say in traveling and all of that. Everyone is sitting at home with their own comfort. They have kids around, and they can just take a break and enjoy their happy life, and at the same time they can enjoy work with much more focus, and which is amazing. The world is changing, right? So with that, yes, I mean, I'm really glad to have all of you guys here today. There are some technical problems I personally faced. In Chennai, there is like heavy rainfall, and that's why there was a power cut. So I apologize for that, and definitely, I mean, really happy to hear all of you. Yeah, anyone can add something to as a closing note. Yeah, please go ahead and please let us enlighten more on things. I think everyone has discussed already all the topics that we were expecting right now. And yes, technology is helping us out, and definitely about virtual production, Karan, how things are going. What is the difference that you're seeing? So when the creatives from the past experience with their current workflow experience, when they are trying to learn as an adult learning process, what do you see? How people are adapting to the new change, and the way the technology is helping us grow. So at one side there is a
Absolutely.
change, and at one side we can see, like, I'm a supervisor for last 18 years, 10 years, at least a decade I was supervising, and then there is a virtual production. So I need to, like, even learn today and explore more and go ahead with that. So how people are responding, how creatives are responding to that.
Got it. No, I think it's a great question, right? And
Hmm.
some of the interesting things about virtual production is you have iterations that are much faster because the output's right there in front of your eyes. And when a lot of people think about virtual production, the first thing that comes to mind are like big LED stages, and everybody knows of the Mandalorian and all of that. But I think there's a whole other side to it that is low cost and can be incredibly effective. Going back to what Jeremy was saying a little earlier about previs, that's actually one of the areas we're most active right now and using a lot of virtual production technology. Motion capture, virtual cameras, that type of workflow before you even go on set. So we moved from real-time previs to creating TechVis tools that are digital twins of what we'll be using on set. And just that side of the workflow, right? It speeds up the production process so much more. You know exactly where your set extensions are going to be, what is going to be built practically. So I think that whole aspect has really changed. And sure, like the LED panels are great, and but sometimes it's not always possible. It's not always conducive for that shoot. Or
Right.
so I think it's a really large spectrum right now where it can be effective in many ways. So I think in starting to plan shoots differently and then knowing how much is going to be done in post, And I think as things proceed, obviously you're going to be able to capture more and more in camera. But even for the things you can't capture in camera, complex simulations, crowds, there are certain things that are harder to do. And it's really great to be using a hybrid workflow for that. Going back to USD again, the interoperability is a key factor, right? Allowing us to jump, working with a vendor that uses Houdini, or having assets that are created in perhaps Maya or something like that, and coming into Unreal. So that really changes the equation for us. Things like live link that Unreal supports and multi-user. So I think on the whole, VP is it does really change the game, and it's not just about the shiny LED panels. We are using those a lot, but I think there are many ways to use it as well. And yeah, I'm just kind of excited to see how more creatives are going to take to virtual production. But I think the key takeaway is that the creative alignment is much stronger. Like what they've envisioned when they can see it much earlier in the process. I think that is the key difference. And
Yes.
what we're really trying to do is do it in a way that's cost effective as well, and in a way that works for the constraints of the market here in APAC and India.
Right. Great. Glad to
Yeah.
hear that. Yeah. Yeah. So with that, I think we are almost on the closure of session. That we have still 10 minutes to go. So do we have any questions from the audience side for any particular panelists?
I can't see any questions from anyone.
Is there a way to like connect with the audience? I mean,
Since it is a hi
if someone
Shilpa is
can guide us
back.
about that. So
Since it is a panel discussion, we did not enable the Q&A
I
session
think
for
I
this
think it
one
is limited to the to all of us.
to the
So
panelists.
yeah,
Yes,
glad to
yes,
hear
sure.
Jeremy about the things that are happening in Jellyfish, and Shaji, glad to know that the way you have built 5,000 plus employees work culture in a way that it can still support to the business and continue the growth as it is. Of course, Karan added about the technologies that he's exploring, and the way he is developing that talent pool in India. Really glad to know about that. Samit, on the other side, of course, from Autodesk, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. So he is helping us in terms of exploring the new technologies and new ideas that are coming in the business right now. So, what kind of, I mean, in terms of from Autodesk, and there is Foundry and various companies, are there any collaborative to software together, the creative work where you can lead very fancy work, can say, uh, are much than what here. So how things
So, Ranjit, as mentioned before, like we have enough tools to deliver now, but now what's next is how do we deliver faster
yes.
and quicker.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone would agree that we are very lucky that we are in this profession, which actually grew big time during pandemic. This is one of the industries which shot up because of the need of content in the industry, in the market. Of course, we had our own challenges in the beginning, but then later on things became fine, and we've seen the growth in the content creation. So that also creates another challenge: is how are you going to deliver it, because earlier we had maybe two projects, but now we have four or six. So in order to deliver things faster, we are looking at solutions which can, perform faster, deliver faster, have be in sync with other industry tools also. Like, we are different companies, but we make sure that the end user is getting the best out of all the tools. Hence, as Karan mentioned, that we have the live link with the game engine, so that you don't have to transfer data, import it there, and any changes it goes back and so on. It's just live, so that two softwares can
Great.
talk to each other, and any changes
Yeah.
it can be done immediately and there itself. We've also, in the rendering part, as I said, we acquired Arnold, and then we worked on it for quite a long time. and release the
Right.
GPU version of Arnold, so that and look dev guys do not have to spend hours just doing the lighting part for a song single shot. He or she can do it
Right.
at the best, and then maybe push it to a CPU render engine based on the cost and so on. So these things are being taken care very carefully, and we, of course, as I said, we are different technologies companies, but at some point of time we talk to each other and make sure that there is a very good live link, or
Hmm.
interop between these two, so many other softwares as well, so that
Right.
at the end what we want to do is we want the studio's workflow and pipeline to be smoother. So that's
Robust.
basically
Yeah.
it.
Great, glad to hear that. So with the change in the way the culture of industry is changing every day, now everyone is on work from home culture, I believe. So with that, Seji, I would like to know from you: are you guys going to continue with the same work from home culture in the future continuously, or are the studios are planning to go back to normal as and when the pandemic will again give us a breather? So how things are, what do you think about this? Because in Pigstone we are thinking of going online completely. The company is going to be forever as an online company, and we are connecting from across India, and from wherever possible we are just trying to get more artists and collaborate with them, and work from home is a new thing which we will continue as a company. So, what do you think? What is your perspective with the bigger picture out there in technical?
Yeah, if I wear my technology hat and answer that, then probably it
Hmm.
is as predictable as having rain during a winter season in Bangalore. That's how it is going, and things are changing. Just not our industry, right? Even
Right,
you have seen many IT giants initially saying they will continue work from home till
right.
2024, 25, but the things are
Hmm.
changing, the demands are changing, and they're all planning to get people at work. So it's
Right.
it's a mix and match. Just
It's a
talking
match.
about our industry, there are plus and minus to both of them. Right? There is a flexibility and agility working from home where you can improve on your work-life balance, but there is actually no blur time. So when you're working at
You're
home,
right.
you're actually not finishing your office work. So
True.
you finish your
That's
dinner
what.
and then you go and check your chat or check your screen just for a minute, but you end up probably sitting an hour. That's one of the
Right.
thing.
Right. Right.
And one of the thing from a creative supervision and production management point of view was more close proximity, discussions, ideations, and a lot of other things comes in, which we are hearing from many supervisors and leads saying that is something which is missing. So from a very practical robotic approach, we have to start thinking, we start using our right brain more and get into more ideation, discussion. And things. So things are changing quite an often, but as an organization, I think we have got one more option from technology or a production process. There is one more option available where you can be
Right.
100% at studio,
Very true.
100% at home, hybrid model, and this and
Hmm.
that percentages can change. So these are some of the options, and I would say doesn't require to just decide that you are here or you're there. You can be anywhere between us. So that's
Right.
I would say that's an option available there. As an organization, speaking about Technicolor, we are based on the show requirement and the deliveries requirements. Every show has a different demands, so we are
Yes.
taking calls based on how the situation are there. It's good to know that
Correct.
we are much more secure, and we could probably take a call of it in the studio, but also good to know
Awesome.
that there are solutions available. So it's
Mix and
kept
match.
evolving.
Yeah.
Evaluating. That's my
Great.
view. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think, Jeremy, on the same thing? Uh, the work from home culture at like overseas, how it is going on, and what people are thinking across globe.
I do think the just to kind of reiterate what was just said, there is a massive amount of flexibility. However, with people working from home, however, it is up to people to also make sure they set boundaries, just to not make sure that they burn out working from home, because it's very easy not to shut the laptop off at the end of the day. However, it is important that people do kind of like physically connect with each other as well. Just say, for example, for session reviews or for several workshops and that sort of thing. So I probably see that we're going to be, entering an area where there's more, instead of going back to the office, they'll be called like collaboration hubs or something like that. So basically people can have that, that one-to-one face-to-face time, time and team building and all that sort of stuff. But I do think, and it's not this industry, but it's going to be, the same thing will apply to multiple different sectors as well. So I think a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are trying to figure out what works for them. In addition, basically, no two people are wired the same. So say, for example, what works for basically one person may not work for another, and just make sure that they feel supported. So I do think like the technology, it is there, it is matured enough where it can work. And I think we're going to be in a scenario where people are kind of still figuring that out. So I guess all to say, there's no black and white answer. But I do think, for many organizations, certainly in the UK, hybrid does seem to be the way that people are going to be going in the future.
All right. Awesome. Glad to hear you on that. So with that, I think timing's running now. We are almost on the... Yes?
So there's a question from Path. Can I answer it?
Yes. Please.
All right. Yeah. So just quickly, Path is asking, what is the plan as a software company to provide work from solution and work from home environment, and what are the number of softwares that the company is providing to ease the remote workflow. So this is just to add to this. Autodesk has our core software, which is Maya and 3ds Max, and of course Mudbox, Character Generator. So these were all desktop-based softwares which run on a PC when you install it. So to start with, the best tool which we currently have is the cloud-based tool, which is ShotGrid. Earlier it was called as Shotgun. And this is a cloud-based tool which helps and enables everyone to be on the same page, because it's one of the best production management tools. So you guys can be anywhere in any part of the world. You can just use this as and get updated on what are the tasks you need to do it, where is the project moving, and what is the status of each task, and so on. So just to let you know about, in short, ShotGrid is one of the tools which really became very handy and powerful during pandemic, and especially during the work from home scenario. Secondly, we are working on our tools where, of course, I won't be able to disclose a lot, but then we have tied up with Veta Digital, and we came up with this tool called as Veta M. We haven't launched it, but we have announced it. So this is going to be very easy, because anyone who is working from home wants to leverage some plugins which is being developed by Veta Digital for their mind-blowing VFX shots. You don't have to develop something on your own. You can just subscribe it from the cloud, use them for a certain time, certain period, and drive your shots, and then you're good to go. This will be really very handy when you are working from any part of the world remotely or be at home. Next change we did was in licensing, because we had this license, the file-based license, which we call it as multi-user license, which used to be installed in the server. We completely moved to the name-based license, which means an artist can be traveling anywhere with his or her laptop, and can log into that software from any part of the world. They don't have to be literally in the studio environment or the VPN. That's again something. And of course, there are some more development which is happening, but I'm sorry we won't be able to share it unless and until it's announced. But yeah, definitely we're working on it. Thank you.
Great. Glad to hear that, Sumit. And with that, I think the time is running. We are at 6 o'clock evening. So very glad to see all of you here and discuss some of the major important points about the technology and the way the things are changing every single day. And we are still learning, and will continue to learn and explore more. And your advice is really important. Indeed, it will be helpful for many who are listening to this program. Thank you so much, Jeremy, Shaji, Samit, and so everyone. So thank you so much, and thank you so much, India Joy, for arranging this VFX Summit on this particular topic. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you from the India
See you
Joy
guys.
team
Have a
too.
great day.
Thanks for your time. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.